Reading through the Bible in a year, November 6th, 2 Kings chapter 19, Hebrews chapter 1, Hosea 12, and Psalms 135 and 136. When King Hezekiah heard it, he tore his clothing, covered himself with sackcloth, and entered the house of Yahweh. Covering yourself with sackcloth, tearing your clothing, it's a sign of humility. Then he sent Eliakim, who was over the household, with Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz. They said to him, "Thus says Hezekiah, this is a day of distress, rebuke, and rejection. For children have come to birth, and there is no strength to deliver. Perhaps Yahweh, your God, will hear all the words of Rabshakeh, whom his master, the king of Assyria, has sent to reproach the living God, and will rebuke the words which Yahweh, your God, has heard. Therefore, offer a prayer for the remnant that is left." So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. And Isaiah said to them, "Thus you shall say to your master, Thus says Yahweh, do not be afraid because of the words that you have heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold, I will put a spirit in him, so that he will hear a rumor and return to his own land. And I will make him fall by the sword in his own land." Then Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria fighting against Libnah, for he had heard that the king had left Lachish. When he heard them say concerning Tirhakah, king of Cush, "Behold, he has come out to fight against you," he sent messengers again to Hezekiah, saying, "Thus you shall say to Hezekiah, king of Judah, do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Behold, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all the lands, destroying them completely. So will you be spared? Did the gods of those nations which my fathers destroyed deliver them? Even Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, and the sons of Eden who are in Telasar? Where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arpad, and the king of the city of Sepharvaim, and of Hena and Ivah?" Then Hezekiah took the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And he went up to the house of Yahweh and spread it out before Yahweh. Hezekiah prayed before Yahweh and said, "O Yahweh, the God of Israel, who are enthroned above the cherubim, you are God, you alone. Of all the kingdoms of the earth, you have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Yahweh, and hear. Open your eyes, O Yahweh, and see, and listen to the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to reproach the living God. Truly, O Yahweh, the kings of Assyria have devastated the nations and their lands. They have cast their gods into the fire, for they were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. So they have destroyed them. Now, O Yahweh, our God, I pray, deliver us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone, O Yahweh, are God." Then Isaiah the son of Amoz sent to Hezekiah, saying, "Thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, because you have prayed to me about Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have heard you. This is the word that Yahweh has spoken against him. She has despised and mocked you, the virgin daughter of Zion. She has shaken her head behind you, the daughter of Jerusalem. Whom have you reproached and blasphemed? And against whom have you raised your voice, and haughtily lifted up your eyes? Against the Holy One of Israel. Through your messengers you have reproached the Lord, and you have said, with my many chariots I came up to the heights of the mountains, to the remotest parts of Lebanon, and I cut down all its tall cedars and its choice cypresses. And I entered its farthest lodging place, its thickest forest. I dug wells and drank foreign waters, and with the sole of my feet I dried up all the rivers of Egypt. Have you not heard? Long ago I did it. From ancient times I planned it. Now I have brought it to pass, that you should turn fortified cities into ruinous heaps. Therefore their inhabitants were short of strength. They were dismayed and put to shame. They were as the vegetation of the field, and as the green herb, as grass on the housetops is scorched before it is grown up. But I know you're sitting down, and you're going out, and you're coming in, and you're raging against me. Because of your raging against me, and because of your arrogance, rather, because your arrogance has come up to my ears, therefore I will put my hook into your nose. Therefore and bridle in my eye, starting over, in my bridle in your lips, and I will turn you back by the way which you came. Then this shall be the sign for you. You shall eat this year what grows of itself, in the second year what springs from the same, and in the third year, sow, reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. The surviving remnant of the house of Judah will again take root downward and bear fruit upward. For out of Jerusalem will go forth a remnant, and out of Mount Zion survivors. The zeal of Yahweh will perform this. Therefore, thus says Yahweh concerning the king of Assyria, he will not come to this city, or shoot an arrow there, and he will not come before it with a shield, or throw up a siege ramp against it. By the way that he came, by the same he will return, and he shall not come to this city, declares Yahweh. For I will defend this city to save it for my own sake, and for my servant David's sake. Then it happened that that night that the angel of Yahweh went out. Remember this. That the angel of God went out that night and struck 185,000 in the camp of the Assyrians. He killed them. No man's hand. There was no army of people in the night with little knives who snuck in to do this thing. When they woke up in the morning, all of them were dead. Not the dead people, obviously. They didn't wake up. The survivors woke up to find all of these people dead in the camp. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed. He returned home and lived at Nineveh. And it came about as he was worshipping in Nisroch, in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adramelech and Sharezer killed him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Ararat, and Esarhaddon, his son, became king in his place. There we go. Let's move on now to Hebrews chapter 1. All right, let's read the introduction here. The letter to the Hebrews was written to encourage Christians in a time of trial. It does so by focusing on the absolute supremacy and sufficiency of Jesus Christ. While God spoke in the past many times and in many ways, he has now spoken of Jesus Christ. Starting over. He has now spoken to us by his Son, Jesus Christ, who is the exact imprint of God's nature and who upholds the universe by the word of his power. Jesus accomplished complete salvation for all who trust in him. We dare not neglect such a great salvation. Rather, in our faith and in our everyday living, we should imitate the example of Christ and of those on the honor roll of faith. This letter, whose author is unknown, was probably written between AD 60 and 70. Now, as we go through this text, every single time I bring up the fact that I think, possibly, that it may have been written, not by Paul, but by somebody who went around with it, because it sounds very Pauline, but it's probably not. There's many things in this text that tell us that it isn't Paul. Paul wouldn't say terms like, it was written somewhere. That's what this text says. So, what is the point of the letter? This is kind of a recurring point in this letter, in Peter's letters to come, where there are Christians, specifically Jewish Christians, who are considering recanting their faith publicly while still maintaining a Christian identity in secret, because they want to escape the persecution that they're receiving from people around them. Think of it today as a person who claims to be a Christian, but because their family make fun of Christians, they want to join in making fun of Christians as well so they could feel like they belong. Meanwhile, they're still calling themselves a Christian. Or someone who, at work, maybe even in the past, they've had other people at work that they've kind of done battle with and made fun of because they were Christians. And now that they claim the name of Christ, and now that they have been converted, they're struggling with what they've done in the past, and they want to cover it up. They don't want people to know. Well, in this time and age, Christians were being carried off to be arrested, in some cases tortured, and in other cases put to death. Families were being broken apart. Families were turning each other in so that they would get rid of these dirty Christians in their midst. And so, because of that, people are enduring hardship. In some cases, they're not going to see their children again, or their spouse, or their parents may have turned them in for being a dirty Christian. So, they want this to stop, and they're considering recanting their faith in Christ. That's where we begin. Verse 1, God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers and prophets in many portions and in many ways, in these last days he has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the world. And he is the radiance of his glory and the exact representation or imprint of his nature, and upholds all things by the word of his power. When he had made purification of sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. Having become as much better than the angels, he has inherited a more excellent name than they. For to which of the angels did he ever say, "You are my son, today I have begotten you"? And again, "I will be a father to him, and he shall be a son to me"? And when he again brings the firstborn into the world, he says, "And let all the angels of God worship him." And of the angels, he says, who makes his angels winds, and his ministers a flame of fire. But of the Son, he says, "Your throne, O God, is forever and ever, and the righteous scepter is the scepter of his kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated lawlessness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness above your companions. And you, Yahweh, in the beginning laid the foundations of the earth. And the heavens are the works of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. And they will become old like a garment. They will all become old like a garment, and like a mantle you will roll them up. Like a garment they will also be changed, but you are the same, and your years will not come to an end. But to which of the angels has he ever said, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet"? Are they not all ministering spirits, sent out to render service for the sake of those who will inherit salvation? Hosea 12. Ephraim feeds on wind and pursues the east wind continually. He multiplies lies and violence. Moreover, he makes a covenant with Assyria, and oil is carried to Egypt. Yahweh also has a dispute with Judah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways. He will repay him according to his deeds. In the womb he took his brother by the heel, and in his maturity he contended with God. Yes, he wrestled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought his favor. He found him at Bethel, and there he spoke with us. Even Yahweh, the God of Israel, the God of hosts, Yahweh is his name. Therefore, return to your God. Observe kindness and justice, and wait for your God continually. A merchant in whose hands are false balances, he loves to oppress. And Ephraim said, surely I have become rich. I have found wealth for myself. In all my labors they will find me. No iniquity. They will find in me no iniquity, which would be sin. But I have been Yahweh, your God, since the land of Egypt. I will make you live in tents again, as in the days of the appointed festival. I have also spoken to the prophets, and I gave numerous visions, and through the prophets I gave parables. Their iniquity in Gilead? Surely they are worthless. In Gilgal they sacrifice bulls. Yes, their altars are like the stone heaps beside the furrows of the field. Now Jacob fled to the land of Aram, and Israel worked for a wife, and for a wife he kept sheep. But by a prophet Yahweh brought Israel from Egypt, and by a prophet he was kept. Ephraim has provoked to bitter anger, so his Lord will leave his blood guilt on him, and bring back his reproach to him. Here we go. Concluding today in Psalms 135 and 136. Praise Yahweh. Praise the name of Yahweh. Praise him, O servants of Yahweh. You who stand in the house of Yahweh, in the courts of the house of our God. Praise Yahweh, for Yahweh is good. Sing praises to his name, for it is lovely. For Yahweh has chosen Jacob for himself, Israel for his own possession. For I know that Yahweh is great, and that our Lord is above all gods. Whatever Yahweh pleases, he does, in heaven and in earth, in the seas and in all deeps. He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth, who makes lightnings for the rain, who brings forth the wind from his treasuries. He smote the firstborn of Egypt, both of man and beast. He sent signs and wonders into your midst, O Egypt, upon Pharaoh and all his servants. He smote many nations and slew mighty kings, Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan, and all the kingdoms of Canaan. He gave their land as a heritage to Israel, his people. Your name, O Yahweh, is everlasting. Your remembrance, O Yahweh, throughout all generations. For Yahweh will judge his people, and will have compassion on his servants. The idols of the nations are but silver and gold, the work of man's hands. They have mouths, but they do not speak. They have eyes, but they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear, nor is there any breath at all in their mouths. Those who make them will be like them. Yes, everyone who trusts in them. O house of Israel, bless Yahweh. O house of Aaron, bless Yahweh. O house of Levi, bless Yahweh. You who revere Yahweh, bless Yahweh. Blessed be Yahweh from Zion, who dwells in Jerusalem. Praise Yahweh. Now Psalm 136. So, this is meant to be read aloud. And Psalm 136 has a component that is supposed to be spoken back to the speaker. The speaker says the first line, and then the congregation would resound with the statement, "His loving kindness is everlasting," or as others translate it, "For his steadfast love endures forever." So you'll hear me say this as we go through this 9,000 verse. It's not really that long, but it's pretty long because of the repeated line. Psalm 136. And as we go through it, you're going to hear the speaker tell the story of God. He is the creator of all things. He is the one who chose Israel back when it was just one guy by himself, Abram, not even yet Abraham, to make for himself a nation. And he plucked them out of adversity. He set them in their own land, which he had promised them. And this is the same God who endures forever. Let's begin. Verse 1. Give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, for his loving kindness is everlasting. Give thanks to the God of gods, for his loving kindness is everlasting. Give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who alone does great wonders, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who made the heavens with skill, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who spread out the earth above the waters, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who made the great lights, for his loving kindness is everlasting. The sun to rule the day, for his loving kindness is everlasting. And the moon and stars to rule by night, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who smote the Egyptians in their firstborn, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and brought Israel out of their midst, for his loving kindness is everlasting. With a strong hand and an outstretched arm, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who divided the Red Sea asunder, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and made Israel to pass through the midst of it, for his loving kindness is everlasting. But he overthrew Pharaoh and his army in the Red Sea, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who led his people through the wilderness, for his loving kindness is everlasting. To him who smote great kings, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and slew mighty kings, for his loving kindness is everlasting. Sihon, king of the Amorites, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and Og, king of Bashan, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and gave their land as a heritage, for his loving kindness is everlasting, even a heritage to Israel his servant, for his loving kindness is everlasting, who remembered us in our low estate, for his loving kindness is everlasting, and has rescued us from our adversaries, for his loving kindness is everlasting, who gives food to all flesh, for his loving kindness is everlasting. Give thanks to the God of heaven, for his loving kindness is everlasting. That's it. It's all the reading and all of the notes for today. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord. Loving kindness is everlasting.